We do not care. I have grown a lot. I have known Ghana police, the way they dress. Today, when they dress, they are like, they are supposed to scare anybody. Why? Why do you prepare for a simple election, which we have run several times, with this kind of thing? Why? Why? As I'm speaking, you hear news that they are deploying people to Ho. You see that video, that audio that is in circulation. You hear a lot of speculation. But fellow Akatamonsonians, look at me and let me tell you that we are prepared for any inch of eventuality, and that we will not be prepared for me to live in my village, to go and cast my vote, for anybody in Kakagotobi to come and say that he has snatched the ballot box. It will not happen. It has taken women of this country to stop such agitations, and our people must be ready and are ready to stop it. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Ambassador, for setting the tone for the discussion. Let me read a couple of your messages before I move on to Kobnamafo. Anefi Adams, I think, said, I'm disappointed in the so-called Peace Council. How would there be peace when hoodlums are sent to voter region to intimidate voters and the so-called Peace Council is silent on it? I hope what we saw during the registration will not be repeated or forget about peace. He sent that from Tamale Central Constituency. Rio Ghana. Okay, this one is from Ibrahim Kolom from Bongo. Says December 7th, the day of reckoning. Vote wisely. Vote for President John Dramani Mahama on number 2. Olivia Kujo says, we are the youth. Let us advise our parents and grandparents to vote Mahama for good education, hospitals, and more development. Let us remember what the MPP and Akufo-Addo father did to Kwame Nkrumah, you say. Sally Susetre says the NDC and JM campaign has now sunk deep into the waters. Vote MPP and President Akufo-Addo for more prosperity and development for all Ghanaians. Thank you for that message. A couple of repeated messages. Yao Tenge says, sends his greetings to Mr. Pratt and the panelists, and says I should tell Mr. Pratt I love him so much. I pray his thumbprint on Monday will grant his exact wish. Yao Tenge sent that from Kumasi. Francisco Fie Japan says, please, and the president has taken bribe, so let's vote him out of the security out. The security agencies must know that we have only Ghana, and they themselves also have family. Kakali Elikem Klenam also says hi to Mr. Pratt and the rest of the panelists. Okay, you see, I'm not left out. Thank you. Thank you very much. Charles Thompson says, let's be absolutely clear about one thing. Our beloved country does not belong to any political party or any group of politicians. Go out there and vote wisely. And let me end with Lilian Akosi Abedi saying, Ghanaians handed governance of the country to the MPP. MPP spent the whole 4 years demonizing and talking about John Mahama. 5 days to election, we have called a press conference to talk about this same John Mahama. Nemesis has really caught up with you, Pa. Eradi Yesu, MPP government. Vote hashtag number 2, GM for peaceful Ghana. Mr. Mafo.
Let me extend my greetings to our viewers and our listeners this morning, and also extend my warm greetings to our national executives, the regional executives, and constituency executives, especially the polling station executives. I must say that 2 days from today would be the day that we will need the effort of the polling station executive, because most of the work which will be done down there, these are the men who are going to man the polling station, and we need them to put their effort to bear to ensure that whatever votes which will be voted out there, same number or figure is counted and same is delivered to the various preparation in terms of how we intend to, communicate the figures to our regional and national executives as well. Now, with the issue on the table to be discussed, Uncle Sam, let me start by saying that we, the NPP, we do not speak on behalf of the Electoral Commission. But if there are points to be made clear, I think it suffices that at least if points are made which I beg to differ with the arguments, it suffices I put my issue across. Now, with the issue about what Uncle Sam said, regarding the Electoral Commission being able to call out the electoral results within 24 hours. I think they have come to explain that it's not within their power to say that they are going to subdue the will of the people, but rather in terms of how they decide to get the information across. Now, unlike before, we didn't have regional collation center. This time they have included regional collation center. So we are going to do the constituency collation center. So within the constituency collation center, they are going to take the data of the various polling station figures, then they will add them. So the various regional collation centers, in terms of the men manning those stations or those platforms, what they would be doing then would just to add the various figures that have come from the constituencies within the region which they are supposed to monitor the results. Then thereafter, the regional figures will be transmitted to the constituency figures will be transmitted to the regional team who would also be monitoring. So invariably, the regional team who will be doing the computations will only be adding figures from the constituency level. So which means that they will be adding figures from 275 constituencies. And once it has agreed from the polling station at the constituency level, the work to be done at the regional level becomes so easy. Then further, the EC would only have to add the 16 regions, the results from the 16 regions that they have been able to gather. So it is not to say that the EC is more or less determined, or for want of a better word, would wish to subdue the will of the people. No, they are reduced in terms of the workload from the polling station to the constituency level to the region, and even thereafter, they are not only saying that they are determined to announce the results within 24 hours, but they said possibly, if all of these, or all things being equal, if all of these mechanisms that they have been able to put in place are able to work out successfully, then possibly within 24 hours they'll be able to declare the results. That is one. Two, with the preparation, as you asked, that have the EC prepared enough, said that come December 7th, when we cast our vote, the tension which perhaps will be created as people will be, waiting for the results to be announced. I must say that we must commend this EC, because looking at how they have, in terms of rolled out their programs, from their intention to register, even in the midst of COVID, they register people, even at the instances where people were being registered in the midst of COVID. If you usually look at the COVID figures, though we were increasing, but it was not that much. Comparing it with the number of people who were out there to register. Again, they have been able to do the registration, and they have been able to print the ballot papers as well. And you would agree with me that all of these were done at the behest of all the political party agents, because political party representatives were there to monitor, so that nobody would have any question to raise. They have been able to send those logistics to the various regions and police stations. We have had our special voting, and I want to say that the special voting in itself is a test run for the EC to be able to assess whether the machines that they have been able to acquire, whether on the day of the election, looking at the number of people who will be out there to vote, whether the machine will be able to withstand the pressure. And I may be corrected, the EC, we are told that they are not going to allow, in terms of population, a voter population within each polling station to exceed 750, if I may be corrected. Yeah, yes, to exceed 750. So in all of this, you would realize that the EC, indeed, they have done a yeoman's job. And just last 2 weeks, they were able to give to all the political parties the voter register. And I think, for me, it is a thumb up. As I'm speaking to you now, the EC have 3 models with which all of us seated here will be able to access our data on their platform. They have the USSD model, where you would dial, let me just refer to, where the USSD model, where you would dial *711*2020#. Then you would follow the procedure, you send in your voter ID card, you
equally send in your polling station code. Then you would find out whether indeed your name is captured. That is the USSD model. Beside that, you can also go to their website, that is /register.ec.gov.gh, also to check whether you have your name in their data. Again, you can also download their app on Apple Store. And also same procedure, you download the app, you enter your voter ID, you enter your polling station code. So with me, I think that this EC have been very transparent. And you know, it's also helped to reduce the tension, because when people are in doubt to want to believe that maybe whatever the EC is intend to do, or the EC is acting in a way to favor one political party, no, you would agree with me that the EC have been so transparent. So going forward, we all as Ghanaians, we have a duty to play. We have a nation to build. It is good that we help the EC so that whatever that he's doing on behalf of all of us, at the end of the day, we would be able to go to the election peacefully, declare whoever wins, Ghana still moves on. But I know that for the grace of God, Ghanaians are going to vote for His Excellency, Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, so that you'll be able to continue with the good works that he has started.
Thank you, Mr. Mafo. Let me just do a message from Musa Abato and Kumasi, who says, Sena, this government is totally confused. If your wife cannot give birth, they say, don't talk because we've given you free SHS. Today, corruption has become epidemic. Don't talk because we've given you free SHS. Don't talk, we're giving you free SHS. What have you done with the 140 billion cedis borrowed? Don't talk because we've given you free SHS. Family and friends are chopping taxpayers' money headed by the mother serpent corruption. Don't talk, we've given you free SHS. As ignorant as they are, they think free SHS has solved all Ghana's problems. On Monday, we shall all go out to vote. Thieves out of government and put Ghana back on track. You say, Julius Agahoa and Tahiru and Asawase, Sena, if God permits, Monday's voting is not just to vote and elect our leaders, but it's actually to regain our independence and save Ghana. So I am appealing to Ghanaians to vote against this corrupt president called Nana Addo. Let's join hands to rescue Ghana and give it back to the visionary leader, John Mahama, for him to come and continue his good works for Mother Ghana. Thank you very much for that message. And also, this one is from Okan in Nungwa, Michael Okan, who says, I am of a strong conviction that President John Dramani Mahama will restore dignity and respect to the seat of presidency. The suffering of every Ghanaian is an unfortunate situation and will be addressed when power changes hands come December 7th. I urge you to make the right choice in this year's election by voting for growth, development, jobs, quality education, good governance, free primary health care and security, with John Dramani Mahama as President of Ghana and Agnes Na Momolate as MP for Core constituency. You send that from Nugwa. Thank you very much. This one's from Kwesi in the UK, which says JDM should depend heavily on its security operatives on the ground. Swapping of ballot boxes and use of pepper spray in the air must be safeguarded seriously by MPP hoodlums. Vigilance, vigilance, vigilance. NDC, you say. Mystic and in Sawam says, good morning to myself and Madam Joyce Bauer. Says, Nana is the real meaning of corruption and nepotism. The mother servant of corruption has done it again by collecting 40. Okay. He said, let's bring back John and Jane to rescue Ghanaians from these hoodlums and political bigots by implementing the good policies in the People's Manifesto, like the free primary care, free tertiary education, the big push, apprenticeship, and many more. Say no to hooliganism, culture of impunity, lawlessness, and insensitivity. My regards to people of Mepe in Northern constituency. I come to Madam Joyce Boa Muktari now. Good morning, and thanks for joining us.
Good morning, sir. Finally. I think it's actually my very first time here. I don't know if I have the energy to talk for 3 hours non-stop. And I'm sure you know I've just come back from TV, so already my throat is beginning to struggle under the pressure. But thank you very much. And in terms of our preparation towards the election, I would want to speak from the perspective of what I experienced yesterday. You know, yesterday they signed the peace pact. And I observed that the president was unnecessarily very, very late And even when he arrived there, to my utter surprise, he expressed no regrets or apologies. He may have tried very hard to come across as president and made quite an effort, but that particular omission for me was most unfortunate. I am sure this is actually the third time we've gone out there to sign the peace pact. The first one was in the Ashanti region in Kumasi. The second one was in 2016 here in Accra with then candidate Akufo-Addo. And so this is certainly the third one. And it's also the very third time that both gentlemen will be contesting in an election. And yesterday I watched the mutual respect from former contestants, from both men who have served as president, who now know that it stands on the shoulders of the two of them to go into this election. But above all, only one will make the winner. And certainly for us, that one must be John Dramani Mahama and of course the NDC. I listened also to the Electoral Commissioner, and to say the least, I asked myself whether she was speaking as an EC chair or as an arm of government. I didn't quite understand. I mean, we are all here. Half of the EC commissioners were removed, and another half brought in. So in fact, anything that you do will certainly be the first time, because you did not certainly come to meet any institutional memory beyond what you met downstairs. All the leadership was new. You were certainly going to try and innovate. You had that history with which to compete. You were certainly going to make an effort to do better. You even had to make an effort even to redefine yourselves and to convince us about your competence and capability, considering the matters that led up to the total reshuffling of commissioners at the EC. So I found it a bit strange. Certainly there's a new electoral manual that has been given to all political parties. We've been told the do's and don'ts of an election, which I believe are pretty much public knowledge. I don't think there's really anybody sitting here who does not know what goes into an election or what does not. We've had challenges with spoiled ballots, and yes, all the political parties, especially the NDC, has been working very, very hard on educating our party supporters, on educating our members on the correct way to thumbprint on the ballot sheet. To be sure also the ballot paper has a signature at the back, and then of course we can take it to the next level. But when you look at it, I've been asking, and I listened to my brother here, is the Electoral Commission trying very hard to make up for the millions of taxpayer funds that they have received, that so far they have been unable to tell us how those monies have been spent? On my way here, I listened to one of the commissioners still trying to explain why some names have not been found on the register. So in one breath, they tout this as being the best register, but I recall that even the register we used in 2016 was actually adjudged not just by the NDC, but even by civil society organizations as being the most responsible. And in terms of the margin of error, it was under 5%, which is what happens across board. So are we now telling Ghanaians that this particular register is 100% foolproof? So why did we go for the exhibition then? And even with the exhibition, we know the challenges that accompanied it. The names that were missing for Professor Alhaji and Opoku-Agyeman to go to Commander to her polling station and not find her name, and yet be told that this was your polling station and this is where you are going to vote. She was holding the ID card, but suddenly the number was different. If the EC knew that they had tried to reduce the numbers of registrants on each registration area, what was so difficult about sharing that education with everybody else? I am also very worried about security and matters to do with election day preparation. I have a funny feeling that President Akufo-Addo says one thing and then actually practices something else. I am in no cahoots that the current deployment of huge military artillery to specific parts of this country right from the beginning of the registration process is an attempt to intimidate, an attempt to literally distract people from undertaking their civic duty. In any case, I would have thought that the most populous parts of Ghana are the areas that actually require this type of military deployment. You have listened to the IGP, even going as far as indicating clear demarcations of what the normal police and security on election day should look like. What will actually tell you that this is indeed a member of the IGP's outfit, and this is indeed, he even indicated that national security has no role on election day. So when you still hear stories about persons who are not necessarily part of the regular security apparatus, still being part of the process, what does that tell you? I have no doubt that Ayawaso West, Wogon, that by-election, was a dress rehearsal. And yesterday I was particularly delighted when President Mahama, as part of his statement at the Peace Pact, mentioned specifically the more than 18 outstanding recommendations of the Ayawaso West Commission that have so far not been implemented. Recommendations that have been totally ignored, and nobody has done anything about it. And government even refuses to respond to queries in that regard. The National Democratic Congress is one of the most successful political parties in this country, and the largest. We have actually won more elections. I mean, in 2000 we saw this intimidation. In 2004 we saw it. In 2008, in 2012. In 2016 it was no different. Threats of Ghana burning if the NPP did not win. Threats of intimidation about all die be die and all of these things. Nobody is in any cahoots that when you see President Akufo-Addo touting his peaceful credentials, it actually belies the evidence of his time in government. Now he has at least served as president. So we can no longer focus on debates about who would be the best president that Ghana has ever seen or ever had. It is now a very superfluous conversation because now we know. We speak about the rule of law. How many instances have you seen real evidence of our president or this ruling government practicing the rule of law as they touted in opposition? Look at challenges to do with corruption, even at the point of the Electoral Commission. What investigations have you heard about? Even for matters that have been investigated, what reports have you received and what has happened to the reports? Many promises were made in the run-up to the 2016 election. Sometimes I shudder to think that some of the things that happened under this administration, if same had happened under the NDC, I imagine the level of opprobrium that would greet these things. We are almost at the point of election day. It has actually been declared a public holiday. For us as the NDC, we are clearly very well poised for power. We have no doubt that we have worked hard, that we have actually proven to Ghanaians that we are better managers of this country, that on governance, on all the key facets of governance, be it corruption, be it in managing the public purse and protecting the public purse, be it in the transparency of our approaches to doing government business. I think on all of those facets, the NDC and John Dramani Mahama stand tall. But ask yourselves, when you watch in the run-up to the new register, even the approach of the NDC to this matter, IPAC had always hitherto been the focus in terms of conversations about elections, electoral processes, and what have you. It has actually developed as a convention. For the first time, we saw how IPAC was treated at meetings of the Electoral Commission, even to the point that a new advisory council was set up to oversee an already existing body that was well clearly mandated to handle these matters. So certainly, there is evidence of a ruling government that is now in the dying embers of its administration, that knows for a fact that they have failed to deliver, but now requires to use illegitimate approaches such as intimidation, bullying, a certain type of aggression. None of those things will work. The NDC has trained adequately its polling agents. It has observers. We also have monitors. In fact, a whole legal assemblage of lawyers across the country have all been trained in electoral issues and the electoral manual, so that immediately we can have access to advice as quickly as possible. I listened to the Chief Justice himself, who also spoke about the fact that the courts would actually be dispensing very quickly with matters to do with elections and fallouts there too. ask yourself, why would even the EC box itself in with this notion that the results will be declared in 24 hours? Is it because the NPP declared results in 2016 in under 24 hours? So they needed to come out with a certain camouflage to create a certain impression? Look, the NDC has come of age. The NDC has actually, within itself, worked very hard to ensure key things about this election. Training, education, vigilance, first and foremost. And certainly all these intimidatory tactics will not work. They will not wash. Certainly people know that all of this military deployment is just, I mean, imagine when you are even driving towards the Volta region. When you see them even on the roads, it gives you cause to worry. The number of checks even on the road as you drive along. I was there a few days ago. At every stop. You know, intimidation is not just holding a gun to someone's head. It is not even hiding behind someone's door and waiting to attack them. It is all the physical things that are put in place just to work towards disengaging and suppressing votes in a certain particular state in Ghana. All of these things have been quickly identified by the NDC. I have no doubt that the party is well organized, ready and prepared also to ensure that we face the ruling government on all matters that are within our legal remit, so to do. On everything that appears to be an attempt to intimidate, to suppress, to prevent people from voting, whatever it takes, we are very well poised and prepared. And look, let me send a message out there to all of our supporters, to all persons, citizens who are going out there to cast their ballots. They must do so without fear or favor. They must not allow anybody to intimidate them or stop them from so doing. Indeed, there's been a question about masks that has come up. I didn't hear what Ambassador Sampiele said about the fact that you will not be allowed to vote if you do not have a mask. I think there was a conversation even around the EC itself providing or procuring these masks and putting them. But I remember, in the time of the registration even, most people were not observing these protocols. So I do hope that there will be a renewed commitment. But remember, even cost of masks is not child's play. Access to them even in some communities, especially in some rural parts of Ghana. So maybe the EC needs to come back again on that subject. In areas where people cannot, even if they intended to, purchase them, there may be alternatives. In America, people use their handkerchiefs, people use their head scarves, people can use their face veils and all of that. There are other ways in which people should be allowed to observe these protocols without passing on any unnecessary cost element. And I want to encourage everybody who is going out there to vote to decline masks with MPP party paraphernalia displayed on them or branded as such. That one must be condemned and completely discontinued with immediate effect. Even in their strongholds, no official of the EC, no party observer or monitoring or polling agent should be allowing these things. If the EC intends to indeed conduct free and fair elections, these are all matters that are engaging the minds of the good people of Ghana. So certainly we are well prepared, we are poised as a party, we have no doubt that Ghanaians have seen through the facade of the ruling government, that they have come to the point where they believe strongly that it is indeed time for change. And the only way we can achieve or attain that change is through the ballot box. And we have no doubt that we are well prepared so to do.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Just a few messages before I come to Mr. Pratt. This one is from Komla Genya in Abuja, who says it is evidently clear that the electoral system has become full of so much tension since Akufo-Addo began to contest to be president. The only way to return our country to peaceful elections for every peace-loving, God-fearing Ghanaian whose conscience is active and wants the country to develop to massively reject this government. Thank you for that message all the way from Abuja in Nigeria. Positive Change in Medina sends this one, says, if you are confused and you don't know why Akufo-Addo must be voted out, just remember the almighty Japa TV scandal, the PPA scandal, the PDS scandal, the missing excavators, the missing contaminated fuel, the missing Aboboya, the Australia visa scandal, the NLA scandal, among all the things. Remember also the unprecedented looting and state capture agenda by Akufo-Addo and his clan, and vote against them for your freedom. Thank you very much for that message. And then Guy Jesus from La Paz says, we have been slaves in our own country, Ghana, under the 4 years of Nanado's rule. How possibly could Reverend Owusu Bempah give orders to our state military whilst we sit down and watch? Ghanaians must vote John Mahama on number 2 to emancipate us from Nanado's slavery, oppression, and hardship, you say. Dennis Yakwete says, Sena, it is not a problem at all that the MPP is trying hard to cover its many routes with the free SHS, as that is the only obvious thing they can do now. The problem, however, will be if Ghanaians will allow themselves to be fooled on the altar of free SHS to retain the MPP, which is only very few members of the president's family to steal our resources by way of state capture, then that is the issue of socio-psychic examination. If our democracy should not be truncated in the near future by our men in uniform. Indeed, this election is not about NDC and MPP per se, but between the NDC, other opposition parties, and a state capture led by the mother serpent, and we must not allow the latter to triumph for the sake of posterity, to no matter what the EC does. Shalom. And let me end with Ayu Farouk, who says, good morning. Ghanaians should vote for John Mahama of the NDC simply because the NDC is the political party that prosecuted his own appointee who was found in a corruption scandal. But Nanado's MPP government has failed in fighting corruption, as Honorable Matanamido's resignation is clear evidence. Hashtag too sure. Mr. Pratt.
Let me start with the announcement by the Electoral Commission that results will be declared in 24 hours. Indeed, if the Electoral Commission succeeds in doing that, that would be unprecedented. It will be the first time in our history that election results would have been declared in 24 hours. I think there is something to say for speed. You understand? There's a lot to say for speed. But there's a lot more to say for accuracy. Speed without accuracy is reckless in the extreme and will plunge this country into total mayhem. So I can understand why the EC would want to declare the results as quickly as possible. But it is important that the results that are declared actually reflect the true will of the people of this country. Now, I suspect very strongly that my brother here from the MPP has not participated in any serious elections before, has not been part of the processes before. Because if he had, he would not have made the suggestions that he made. In the past, what happened? First of all, for the parliamentary elections, the parliamentary results are declared at the constituency, not the regional. Okay? For the presidential election, the whole of the country is one constituency. And the presiding officer is the electoral chairperson of the Electoral Commission or the Electoral Commission.
The returning officer too.
So what happens in our elections is that the results are counted at the polling station, publicly, openly. They are verified, they are signed by the political parties, and then there's coalition at the constituency center where the results of the parliamentary elections are declared. Okay? There's no regional coalition. There's never been regional coalition. So, from the constituency centers, where the results are certified and so on pink sheets, signed by all party agents and so on, they are then faxed to the strong room in the Electoral Commission. And when the results come on the fax machines, the first people to receive the results are the party representatives in the strong room. The party representatives in the strong room check the results. And when they are satisfied, they then sign that sheet, which then goes to the chairperson of the Electoral Commission. He also checks the results and announces. Now, we are being told that there will be the counting at the polling station, there will be coalition at the constituency level, and then they'll be sent to another regional level for coalition and addition and so on, before they are sent to the Electoral Commission. You have added one more layer. It doesn't make it faster, it makes it slower. You understand what I'm saying? It makes it far slower than it was before. Okay? We are now also being told that indeed the results are going to be transmitted manually. What does that mean? Look at this country, look at its infrastructure, both electronic and non-electronic. And if you say they are going to transmit the results manually, how on earth is that possible? Is it possible for you to collect all the results and to announce them in 24 hours? In any case, who has said that they want election results announced in 24 hours? None of the political parties have said that in the past. The time for announcing the results presented a problem. Nobody has said that. So, why this? A lot of suggestions have been made. One is that the EC wants to display a certain level of efficiency. The EC wants to show that it is so efficient that it can actually announce the results in 24 hours. That may be true. And if the EC is that efficient, we are all happy. You understand? Then others have said that the trick is to quickly rush and announce a result. And once the results have been announced, then if you are not happy with it, you are compelled to go to the courts. And that indeed some people are very comfortable with the courts. Some people are more comfortable with the courts than others. So you just announce the results, and if anybody disagrees, let them go to court. If this scenario is the true scenario, then we should be very careful. We should be very careful. Because if you look at our history from 1992 till today, the very first time that the political party decided to challenge the results in the courts, between the time of the declaration of the results and the challenge in the court, there was total mayhem in this country. Taxes were upturned, people were stabbed, people were beaten, and so on, in that space of time. You understand? So even when political parties opt to go to court, something happens in between, or something had happened in between before. And it was very unpleasant, and I don't want to see that happen anymore. Now, just what if? Just what if political parties decide not to go to court and to use other legal means of seeking redress? Mind you, the only legal means of seeking redress is not the court. There are other legal means of seeking redress. Protests are constitutionally guaranteed. If you read the 1992 Constitution, it gives unfettered rights of protest to citizens. So citizens may decide that we will take our unfettered right guaranteed by the Constitution, which is not illegal, and refuse to go to court and to protest. Can you imagine what will happen? So, finally, for me, the most important thing is that whether election results are declared in 2 days, 1 day, or 1 hour, it must reflect the will of the people and must be done in a manner which is credible, a manner in which all the contesting political parties can be comfortable and they can accept the results. 2016, there were no disturbances in this country after the declaration of the results. Because everybody accepted the results as a true reflection of the people's will. Whether it was the true reflection of the people's will or not is another matter. But the political parties accepted the results as a true reflection of the people's will. President Muhammad conceded defeat. No issues. So this country was peaceful. We had a peaceful transition. You understand? Now, interestingly, the Electoral Commission which organized this election, that everybody, whose results everybody accepted, is the one which has been bastardized and the one which has been decimated. Are you listening? It's the one which has been bastardized and decimated. We should be worried. Now look, in this election, the rules, the law, and so on are very clear. There's no ambiguity. The Electoral Commission is responsible for the conduct of the elections, all aspects of the conduct of the elections, including security. Okay? Including security. What are we saying? We are seeing a massive deployment of security forces, the army, the navy, and so on, to some specific areas in this country. Are these deployments election related? And if they are election related, to what extent is the Electoral Commission, which has sole responsibility for security in elections, involved in these deployments? If they are security, if they are election related, and the Electoral Commission is not involved in this deployment, they are illegal acts. They are an affront to the arrangements we have made to ensure free and fair elections. And I want anybody to tell me that the deployment of the military in the Volta region is not election related. What has happened in the Volta region in recent times to warrant this massive deployment of soldiers? What has happened? Somebody should tell me what has happened. Because some so-called dissidents or rebels or secessionists went and put 3 trips of sand on a road. Is that the reason why there's this massive deployment? 3 trips of sand, 3 tipper trucks went to the Volta region and offloaded sand on some road. Is that the reason for this massive deployment? Is that the reason? Does that make sense? I want somebody to convince me that this massive deployment is occasioned by a real threat in the Volta region. And in any case, if there's such a huge threat in the Volta region, why are we having elections there anyway? If there's such a huge threat, look at the deployment. I mean, look. We are being told that Western Togolands, or some people in Western Togoland, some part of Western Togolanders and so on, they want to succeed. Fine. What about Qatar? What about all those places that have nothing to do with Western Togoland? Why are you mobilizing troops there? What about Aflao? Aflao had never been part of Western Togoland. Why are you mobilizing troops there? Something must make sense. This one does not make sense. And I'm exceedingly worried about these deployments. I'm worried about these deployments not because they would affect voter turnout. Look, the people in the Volta region have never been cowards. They have always stood up for what they believe in. And this time round, they will stand up for what they believe in. They will exercise their right to vote. And nobody is going to succeed in intimidating the people in the Volta region to abandon their civic responsibility. So that is not why I'm worried. I'm worried for the future of our security services. I'm worried for the safety of those who have been deployed in the regions. I know why I say this. Those who are sitting in air-conditioned offices in Accra and making decisions about these deployments and so on are making one fundamental error. How do they tell the political loyalties of the people they are deploying? Who tells them that everybody in the Ghana Navy is an NPP man? Who tells them that everybody in the Ghana Air Force is an NPP man? Who tells them that all customs officials are NPP people? They are not. Every party, I'm sure that even a Kwedonkos party may have one or two sympathizers in some of these security institutions.
Or her nephew or niece or somebody.
You understand? So to make this foolish assumption, it's indeed a foolish assumption that all those being deployed are going there to protect the interests of one political party and so on. This is foolish. And in the final analysis, it is going to lead to a division in our security services, which would not be in the interest of the country, which would not be in the interest of the New Patriotic Party, and will certainly not be in the interest of the National Democratic Congress or the CPP. You understand? So those big men, those pot-bellied men sitting in Accra in their air-conditioned offices who think that they can control everything in this country and the world are simply just deceiving themselves. Yes, sir. Now, I'm worried. Look, this country has had excellent soldiers, excellent policemen. We've had some of the best policemen and soldiers in the world. Look at General Anidoho. General Anidoho led UN peacekeeping operations around the world. He was in Rwanda. You understand? Look around. Look, even in our history, you remember the Chebi ritual murder. The Chebi ritual murder. It took a Ghanaian police officer to investigate that crime. The victim had been buried under a river, a flowing river, and so on. A Ghanaian police officer was able to establish the facts, leading to successful prosecution. So we have excellent men and women excellent and disciplined men and women in our security services. Our security institutions have good reputations. That is why the police is involved in UN operations. That's why, because the army is involved in UN operations and so on. It's a reputation which has been built over the years. Sena, I am absolutely confident that these excellent men and women in our security services will not sit idle and allow some hoodlums who think that the world revolves around their political parties to mess the integrity image of their institutions, which has been built over the years. So anybody thinking that they are going to introduce hoodlums into the security services to cause mayhem and so on, to repeat what happened in Ayawaso West Wagon, is daydreaming. It ain't gonna happen. Massa, they are daydreaming. It ain't gonna happen. The people in the security services themselves will protect the integrity of their institutions and will ensure that they are not misused and abused for useless partisan purposes. So I'm confident that the people of Ghana will turn up in their numbers, and that in this election we are likely to have one of the highest voter turnouts, in spite of the intimidation, in spite of the deployment and reasonable deployment of security forces and so on. I'm sure that turnout is going to be great. And I'm sure that at the end of the day, in spite of all the signs that we are seeing, the people will speak and their word will be final. Nothing is going to stop that. And let nobody deceive himself or herself that anything to the contrary would happen. Now, we have an electoral commission, you understand? And if you read the Constitution, the 1992 Constitution, it makes this electoral commission an independent constitutional body, you understand? That is substantially different from the organs we used to organize elections in the French-speaking countries until recently. Until recently, in all the French-speaking countries, elections were organized by the ministers of interior. Okay? Even now, the so-called French-speaking countries are beginning to realize that that example is problematic. And they are all adopting electoral commissions, independent electoral commissions and so on. Now, I'm saying that if we have adopted a system of an independent electoral commission and so on, the independent electoral commission must not only organize the elections, it must be seen to be organizing the elections. And we don't want to see the hands, hidden or open, of state apparatus like Ministry of Interior, Ministry of National Security and so on, playing into this elections. If those hands are seen, they must be cut. Because those hands have no place in our elections. Read the Constitution. It's clear. You understand? We must allow the Electoral Commission to organize and supervise this election. Even though some of the commissioners have openly displayed bias and done irreparable damage to the image of the commission. One person who has done so much damage to the image of the commission is a commissioner called Bossman Asare. This is a man who can sit on television and proclaim with a straight face that one of the contesting political parties is a danger to democracy in Ghana. I mean, what else? What else can show bias more than this? But he has said it. In any country worthy of his claim to democracy and so on, this man should not be sitting on the Electoral Commission after he had made that statement. In any country. But in Ghana, he's still sitting there. And he's going to be a major part of organizing this election. I'm worried. I'm deeply worried. Look, you have a situation where there's going to be a referendum, and the referendum is going to be supervised by the Electoral Commission. And the commissioner actually urges people to vote yes. Why in the world will this commissioner still be sitting on that commission? But this is Ghana for you. This is Ghana. He's still sitting there. There is a party. How do I say it? Some people want to get down. So they are organizing a party, and it happens that they are all women. And they are organizing a party to celebrate the president for appointing them as women into government positions. And who is on the dance floor shaking her waist? Who is on the dance floor? Who is celebrating the president? The chairperson of our Electoral Commission. My goodness. What more than this can compromise at least the perception of independence of the Electoral Commission? And she's still there. Chairman of the Electoral Commission, going to superintend over this elections and so on. Sena, These are problems. These are indications that some people may want to compromise the process, but I'm not worried about them. I am not worried about them because this is Ghana. This is Ghana, which was once led by Osajifo Dr. Kwame Nkrumah. This is Ghana, which wrestled independence out of the jaw of Britain, which claimed at the time to rule the waves. This is Ghana. These are the people of Ghana who have wrestled power from the jaws of brutal dictatorships for many years. Look, even the National Liberation Council could not survive. The National Liberation Council was backed by the United States of America, a nuclear-armed country. It was compelled to hand over power in 1969 after it had taken power in 1966. Maza, those who thought that they were giants so huge that we had to walk between their feet have all collapsed. And they have collapsed because the people of Ghana are resilient. They have collapsed because the people of Ghana know what they want and they will get what they want. They have collapsed because the people of Ghana are not cowards. They have collapsed because no force can intimidate the people of Ghana. The people of Ghana will make the right decisions on Monday, December 7th, 2020. I'm anxiously waiting for that day. I'm so anxiously waiting for December 7th, 2020. And at the end of the day, we shall all see our smoothness level. No doubt. At the end of the day, in local palace, they say we shall all see our Samia. Mungani. Mungani, we shall see our Samia at the end of the day on December 7th, 2020.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Mr. Pat. And that should end the first round of discussion. When we come back, we'll talk about the issues that will determine the election, because already there has been, if you listen to everybody that has spoken so far, I said maybe for Mr. Mafo, there has been points with relation to the preparation of the security forces and also the Electoral Commission. So when we come back, we'll talk about the issues. This is Alhaji and Alhaji, live on Pan-African Television. We are back shortly.
Hello, what are you doing Tuesday to Friday, 7:30 to 9 o'clock p.m. every day? You should be watching The Couch. I'll tell you why. On Tuesdays, we talk social issues, lifestyle, health, all those everyday issues that affect us in the big ways. Late Wednesdays are for book reviews. Thursdays are for the hard talk, those socio-economic, policy-oriented, political questions that demand for the tough questions to be asked. And personality profiling Fridays, when we get to know the stories behind the winning personalities we love. Inspirational story from inspirational personalities. Hey, listen, you really cannot miss The Couch with me, Amma, but still, the only TV show with a hat.
He has labored, he has suffered.
Welcome back from that break, and thank you very much for staying tuned to the Mother World Talk Shows, Alhaji and Alhaji. You're live on Pan-African Television. Big thank you to Ahunto 92.3 FM. A big thank you to Radio Bewa, or Bewa Radio in Yendi. A big thank you to Matambo Radio, Diamond FM in Tamale. A big thank you to Shine FM and Akachi, to Global FM, and also to Volta One TV, all in Ho. A big thank you to all of you, and to Nyewase Radio in Ketekrachi, among the several affiliate radio stations across the country. Thank you for sticking to the station. Let me just read a couple of your messages on Facebook. Socrates Zero says, yesterday, Nanado said this is his third time signing the peace accord, twice in opposition and once as a president. So he should know that Ghanaians will not forgive him if under his watch Ghana goes in flames. Alassane Sule says, the matter of all talk shows, the NDC shall emerge victorious. He says, Berema Ose, okay, Otumfo, the convener of Crossfire, Ghana. I want to commend President Mahama for the zeal and strength. The message is super. Change is coming. Abi Bantu says, good morning. He says, I have never seen any incompetent EC like Jim Mensah and Bossman before. From day one, they've shown their open bias towards the NDC. No one can rig this election. We are ready to protect the ballot boxes with all our lives. No one can impose a 77-year-old man on us. Kick Nana out and vote massively for John Mahama for a better Ghana. Kofi Nyande says, what about the intimidations by the presence of the military, the power of the people who kick MPP out, you say? Moses Amen says, Sena, it's right for any voter to go out for the vote out of the voting premise with a voting paper. Okay, is it right for any voter to go out of the voting premise with the voting paper before thumbprint? If it is not, then let our people be vigilant with this. That will be interesting, by the way. A lot more messages. Alhaji Haruna from Ashaiman says, them people are relying on free SHS and believe that will make Nana Akufo-Addo winner. They will see their smoothness level on 7 December 2020. You say, Togbe Agokoli says the EC should be very, very careful. Should there be any mistake, Madam EC will regret it. We want peace in Ghana. EC should give us peace. Peace. That is the message from you. Thank you for those messages you're sending in. Send more and we'll read it as we go along in the show. So now we're talking about the issues that will determine the elections, the issues that the political parties have been talking about. And then we will get to hear what will determine Mr. Pratt's votes. But that will be at the end of towards the end of the discussion. But let me start with Ambassador Sampiali once again on this, the issues of the elections.
Well, Sena, from where I sit and what I know, this election is a race of the NDC and MPP versus Nana Akufo-Addo. The NDC and MPP against Nana Akufo-Addo. In other words, it's a race between Ghana and Nana Akufo-Addo. Because whereas the CPP, the GUM, the NDC are talking about Ghana, he's talking about 4 more for Nana. 4 more for Nana. And in talking about 4 more for Nana, what this my nephew and others say is that for him to do more. And if you were in a court, the judge will ask you, more of what? No so. No so. Because it cannot be abstract to say that 4 more for Nana. For more. And you don't continue to tell us what is the more. So many Ghanaians are going to these elections asking themselves, is there 4 more to do the more because of a confucius? Is there 4 more for Nana to do more in doing more free SHS? Is there 4 more for Nana for dams that are not meaningful? Is there 4 more for Nana for a job that lasts for 3 years and after that you have no fit? That is, so far, anytime you listen to any MPP man reciting their poems, they go, free SHS, 1 district, 1 factory. And then if you go and read the factories that they say they have built, Sena, they say they have built about 128 or so factories. Not so. Osajifo built how many factories? And these factories have not changed the economic fundamentals of this country. Sena, when you build a factory, you are looking at the productive sector and then producing to solve problems and for export. What are these factories produced? Where are these factories? I heard my friend, regional minister, Kwamina Duncan, saying that the central region is now an industrial region. Hey, Kwamina. Kwamina, central region, which you are a minister, is a what? Industrial region. And we are the poorest region in the country. So I am telling you, the central region is the poorest region in the country. In terms of youth unemployment. And you say that you have built factories. And then if I should know where the factories are, I should use a tracker. I should use a tracker. And I have said somewhere, the tracker that they put on the internet, if you don't take care, it will take you to a public toilet or a culvert. Chief, a serious country, a very serious country, will not have a minister saying that we are going to build dams for the people of the northern region, which is the bread basket of this country, so that in the times of dry season, they can do their farming. Not so. Then the dry seasons come, there's no water, and we ask the minister, and with all grace, pomp and pageantry, he tells us, if I should have built a meaningful dam, it should have been $3,000 or $3 million, and your 250 cannot build any meaningful dam. Ma, so you knew that you were not building meaningful dams because the money given to you is not enough. In any case, which contractors built those dams? What drawings did they use for those dams? Joyce, you are from the north. I went to the north for some work, and I said today, show me the Pualugu Dam. The Pualugu Dam. Sena, I showed you a picture the other time. Not so. You know, there was an old bridge, and then they have constructed a new road, and therefore we are not using the old bridge. That is where they pitched a tent, blocked the roads to commission the Pualugu Dam. And after that, not even a bicycle have passed through that road. Not even a bicycle. I come from Takrady. And I was happy when one day I saw the Kwame Nkrumah roundabout. You know the Kwame Nkrumah roundabout? PTC. That is where I take to Apawai, Efiekuma, Habo, and Sekendi. That they were going to construct an interchange. So I parked my car by the Air Force and to see what was happening. Sena, there was no contractor. There was no sight of the contractor. And you know what? God is so wonderful. We saw that some party faithfuls were being given overalls. And the video went out. I was there when that video was made. Overalls, in the pink overalls. They wore it. And after that, nothing happened. After that, nothing happened in Takrady. Then the president was to go back to Takrady. Then they sent payloader. The back one, the one that they do to dig toilet and those things. They sent it there. As I'm speaking to you, they have removed the machine, but they have destroyed the beautiful green roundabout. They have destroyed it. If you are going to construct an overhead, Sena, don't you sign agreement? Don't you know the contractor? Don't you see where the contractor has pitched his site camp? Nothing has happened. But we keep talking about, oh, the project is ongoing. Then, as of today, like a texter gave you the message, everything in this country you can buy with free SHS. Everything and anything. But if we are a country that is forward-looking, we implement a program, not so, and the program is running. And every election, that must be the reason why people should vote for you. Free SHS. Nobody says that giving free education to our people is not right. Are you following me? Because that was the reason why Osajifo introduced free education in this country. Kwesi and I know that in those days, the universities were being fed. You don't know that? The universities were being paid. Students of the university were being given allowances for free education. You go to KNUST, you see nice plates, KUNST cafeteria. Students. Because Osajifo knew the kind of human resource he needed for the development of this country. We have run this educational system from sixth form and we changed the GSH and SHS. No, so. What was the rationale behind it? To change the dynamics from raw grammar schools into technical schools. So you remember when Rollins introduced the junior high school, Harry Sawyer then and the rest introduced the technical schools attached. Do you remember? And there were buses that were shuttling between science labs. Then we changed it. I asked a question today. Our civil service cannot employ more people. And anytime you talk, we say the private sector. Our chief private sector is Abusukai, Ghana. Our chief private sector is Abusukai. So all these young men who we are giving the English grammar education, where are we taking them to? You must. Joyce, you are a mother, you go to the market. Have you seen that every other time the carriers are doubling? The street hawkers are increasing every year. And then especially after every academic year, they double. So it's like we are putting water into a tank without an outlet. So if a party is still talking about, I have given you free SHS and therefore you should vote for me, the question is, after free SHS, what next? And in the implementation of the free SHS, some of us with experience cautioned that we are dealing with human beings, the human resource of the country for the future. And therefore, you should treat them properly. Why, Sena? You take a girl, a small girl of 12 years, 13 years, from Takradia Manful, and he has passed senior high school, and you know where he's going? Have. When I met her, he said he's going to have. I said, what is have? Say, have. From Takradia Manful, he has not even come to Accra before. But he has to go to have this school. What is going to happen? The parents would have to now go and rent a room for a little girl, 15 years. And so, whatever happens to her, whatever he does, is her own grace. Is that the education of us? Is that the education you would want for your son or your daughter? Is that the education you would want for your son or your brother? John Mahama said, yes, this is a policy the Constitution asks us to do. this is a constitutional requirement, but I will do it differently. I will start by adapting the fees of the day student, because my direction is that we should have community day schools so close to the students, so that a boy or girl from Mama Fukuma will not go to Have. So he started this free senior high school progressively, not in terms of delaying the policy, but progressively, so that he would build infrastructure needed by the students, good boarding houses if they need. Now, have you seen any of the U blocks? They are like universities. Their labs, their common rooms, their toilets, everything neat. Come on. As soon as President Mahama launched the program at Ekunfi, President Nana Akufo-Addo then said, "Oh, he applauds the president for implementing free senior high school, an idea which is dear to him." The United Nations also did the same. But when Mahama questioned, among the priorities of this country, if I have 2 billion, so are you listening to me? I will distribute it in such a way that it will not be just one lump, but across the educational sector. Because education is not just the senior high school. Education is from preschool all to tertiary. True. So I will spend my money in such a spread. That week, Nanado went to Ekropong or so, one of the schools, and said, from September, we are going to implement free senior high school. Boarding house, free, this free, this free, this free. And one of the worst decisions attached to the free senior high school was the fact that now parents must not have any say in the education of their children. No PTA involvement, no teacher. All is what Nombo says. On and on and on and on. But some of us ask the question, why is it that if you are going to implement an instant free SHS against the progressive free SHS, why would you leave the second year and the third year? Are they not in senior high schools? Why would you leave them? Eventually, their implementation was first year, second year, third year. Is it progressive or instant? So what is the difference? In any case, if we had listened to John Mahama, in 3 years, all this issue of schools and the 3 schools nowhere community would have been solved. So by this time, when the children are going to school, they will be going back into proper schools. You haven't been to know. So when you open school in January, the people are going back to the traffic light. Are you following what I'm saying? The student, if you go to Dansuman where I live, it is pathetic. A boy, a girl goes to school, vacates in around June, so he has to go the next year because that light has not been switched on. We were so reckless in the implementation of the project that we forgot that the human resource have social and psychological needs, physiological needs. So if you go to the schools, no water. Did you see the pictures? People with their no dining hall. Headmasters or mistresses have been forced to convert library reading rooms into classrooms and boarding houses. We don't say the free is bad, though. But if something is good and you implement it so badly, it becomes bad. So the issue of what people are going to stand on to vote is not the way you implemented the free senior high school. You thought you were giving something free for parents, not so. But you had your own Minister for Finance telling you that I don't think this is fair. I can Ufuriata dump my child at Achimoto school. and then just drive off, no payment. If it's a social intervention, it must be targeted towards the people who need it. And that is why Joyce Osagyefo introduced the scholarship schemes. In addition, also introduced the CMB scholarships. And when we are doing the LEAP program, we do it by targeting. That's what John Mahama meant. But we didn't listen to him. So the schools he was building to solve this problem are in the bush. So now, if you take free SHS, I am happy that mischievously we are trying to sweep corruption out of the game plan. But we have seen a lot of racketeering, a lot of fraud, a lot of whatever you call it. I don't know why bus branding became an issue for voting. No, so. But PDS cannot be an issue for voting. I don't know why Victoria Hammer, you know Victoria Hammer, that lady, her wish that one day she will make $1 million should become the albatross on Mahama and corruption. But we can't talk about the Japan. We will talk. We were in this country. Now, I heard the president and the vice president happily echoing, whatever they call it, Guinea fowl have flown to Burkina Faso. When the president had a report of the SADA, and the president had a report of the UDS on the tree planting, no, so the tree planting exercise, that we discussed it when we were really good. And the people were saying that about 75% of the trees have survived. We said no. No. They didn't survive. The guinea fowl have all flown to Burkina Faso. It took Manasseh Azuri 3 years to now come and confess that that is not what he meant. If we cannot talk about, now they want us not to talk about corruption. They remember us anytime you go to metro, they talk, and confirm now, if in confirm can fly, excavators too can fly. Sena, Abubuya and in confirm, how many in confirms were involved? So if you accuse one government of doing something and people believed you and therefore voted for you, you come and you do 100 times worse. We should not talk about it. See, Ghanaians are interested. They are like the Takrady cement. When we are talking and making our noise, we know what we are looking for. The Ghanaians know what you are looking for. See, Sena, I am afraid for the youth, including my nephew. I am very afraid. Because a country where a certain group of people believe that all the financial businesses in the country must belong to them. They believe that all the insurance activities in this country must belong to them. Where is your car insured? Where is your car insured? A country where people believe that to give our boxer to a Ghanaian, let us give it to a Chinese. A country. And then they are happy. They go on television and say, Mahama gave the Ghana boxer to his brother. If Mahama can't give it to his brother, do we give it to the Chinese? So for how much have been collected? What have we used that money for? So the issues on which people are going to vote, Sena, are many. You think people are going to vote because you have packed counterfeit 100 CDs, 10 of them into a box, and put Pepsodent and others into it? Ghanaians are not fools. Rice, and they are not fools. Because they know that it's their own money. When COVID came, you use our name as a country to go and borrow money, not so. And the United Nations and others also gave you money to feed us. What did you do? You cooked and put it in charcoal vehicles and was distributing to us like dogs. For 2 weeks, the money has finished. What next? What next? Even the COVID, what they were giving weekly summons, they'll come and preach to us to show that the president is doing something good. Of course, that is why we have appointed him to do something good. Not so. In the end, what happened? In the end, where are our numbers? And as a country, I want to end. We have done something so indelibly shameful. Twice, somebody travels from Europe to airport. She does not have $150 dollars, $150. You detain her with her pregnancy and her little children for 14 days in open air at the airport. Like they slept there for 14 days because they could not afford $150. Where is the money you took on their behalf? And this is the country. This is the country. I want to end by saying that December 7th was a mirage. It never felt like coming. It is not here. When they give you your ballot box, a paper, ask yourself, what is the future of my children? Because now we don't have debt fund readily available because it's been given on mortgage. Ask yourself, what am I going to gain from my cocoa farm? Because the cocoa proceeds have been mortgaged. Mahama brought this ASLA, you know ASLA? That your girlfriend called ASLA, energy sector levy. That also has been mortgaged. So what is it? The telecommunication wing of the country has gone to some private people. The finance has gone to some private people. And Sena, there's a document going around. And I want my nephew to read one. They call it Ejapade. I saw it on a Pan-African TV, KOD, and I got frightened. And hope that is not the real intent of people. Okay. It's a rescue mission by MPP and NDC against the small clique who want to take this country as their property.
Thank you
very much.
Thank you very much, Ambassador. Dr. Bismarck says, when are you people going to stop complaining about the EC? Even when you have a day to go for election, you are still talking about the ill motive of EC in registering you people. Be focused, guys, he said. Fred Nantes says, today the media, some think tanks, professors, chiefs surprisingly say corruption under Nanado is a normal thing. It does not matter again. Eric Okusevani says, Sena, good morning. Will there be peace if the will of the people is subverted through flawed electoral processes? I don't know. Is it, your name is it Win Cool? I hope I got that right. So, Mr. Pratt, the Ghanaian of yesterday is different. The current Ghanaian will kneel praying while bullets travel through them. Bernard.
Whoever sent this message doesn't know.
Bernard, Bafo has issues with Mr. Pratt. Says, Principal is the only so-called journalist that the moment he talks, simply you know where he's ending. Very rarely I say unto you, you shall know them by their fruits, yes, he says. Emmanuel Avon says, good morning. The time is here for us to go to the polls and vote massively for John Mahama and the NDC to kick this corrupt and bribe-taking president out to the Flagstaff House for a better Ghana. No amount of intimidation will prevent us from voting against this group of criminals. The president is spearheading over a brigade of gluttonous elites who are on a mission to rape the public purse, and Ghanaians must get rid of them. Cyrus Virus says, is the MPP man a PRO for the EC? Is he seriously asking us to commend the EC for endangering the lives of Ghanaians by insisting on registration exercise in the midst of COVID? He should prepare for opposition from Monday so he can use the next 4 years for introspection and renewal. He says, let me read this one from the campaign manager of the PNC, Mr. Wilson, who says that the checklist for this election should be 1. Protecting the public purse. 2. Nepotism. 3. Vindictiveness. 4. Corruption. 5. Uniting this country. 6. Security. MPP and the Akufo-Addo has failed terribly on all the above lists. Let us remember that Monday's decision is going to affect 4 years of our individual and collective lives. For the sake of our children, please let us all go out and vote against Akufo-Addo. Mr. Mafo.
Now, with the issues we all here are discussing, I think to make this clarification, Uncle Pratt, I was referring to the Electoral Commission being able to announce the results within 24 hours, specifically relative to the presidential results, because obviously the Electoral Commission is a returning officer when it comes to the announcing the presidential results. The parliamentary results are announced at the constituency level. Again, with what we are just discussing, going into 2020 election, what will inform voters in terms of which political party they think that would best manage the coffers of this country. I want to believe that it will not be far-fetched for us to go back and assess where we came from, where we've gotten to, and how far we want to go. Going to the 2016 election, we had several programs that we introduced to the Ghanaian whilst we were campaigning. In the midst of that, the Ghanaians were going through several hardships because of the mismanagement of the economy, which the president then, His Excellency, John Dramani Mahama, has plunged this country into. Because he would agree with me that he himself had to go to Royal Sanctuary to go and incorporate what he termed homegrown policy. Thereafter, the economy of this country, more or less, was given to the IMF that we couldn't manage our economy. So the IMF should give us what, again, he termed credibility. In fact, I want to believe that out of this gesture, that several conditionalities were put on us, that graduates were completing schools and they didn't have a jobs, that several taxes, if I should just enumerate them to you, we had 17.5% tax on selected medicines, which was introduced by the NDC. Again, we have 5% tax relative to real estate purchase, which was introduced by the NDC. Not only that, we have 17.5% tax on domestic airlines. All of these taxes were introduced by the NDC. Even what gets me down was to the extent of putting levy on our girls out there who are headquarters. They were being charged levies, daily levies. As I'm speaking to you now, all of these taxes that were put as a burden on the Ghanaian, the NPP led by His Excellency Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, he has been able to erase all of these taxes. Obviously, you would agree with me that being able to do this, at least you ease in terms of the economic hardship that the Ghanaian was facing. Not only were we made to pay all of these taxes, look at how the teachers then, the nurses then were crying for their allowance to be restored. The former president made it clear that even if it will cost his presidency, he wouldn't restore the allowance. The NPP has come and we have restored the allowance. What have we done as a government to put hope into the general public? Look at the several programs and policies we have rolled out there. As I'm talking to you now, every constituency in Ghana now has an ambulance. And you'll be surprised to know that these ambulances give out services to Ghanaians for free. Not only that, under the one district, one factory. Just last week, the Bedukwan firm, which was inaugurated by the president, accompanied
by His Majesty Otumfuo. If you go to Ekumfi, your eyes will see for yourself. The Eku Jews. We have Casa de Europa. You would agree with me that we are not going to bring people from China to be employed to ensure that these factories are able to put to work. Obviously, Ghanaians are going to man these factories. These are creating employment. Gone are the days that we have graduates who put themselves together in a coalition or a group called the Graduate Unemployed Association. Today, as I'm speaking to you, because of one single policy called the NAPCO, on a single day, we were able to recruit 100,000 graduates. Just last 2 weeks, GRA, Ghana Revenue Authority, there was a circular that they intend to incorporate those NAPCO employees into their normal stream. We are giving hope to the people. We spoke about introducing free SHS. And I want to believe that one of the catalysts in life that will prepare everybody to go forward, regardless of where you come from, regardless of your state in the society, is education. Because education is the only platform that you have a poor man's son seated in the same classroom with a rich man's son, being taught by the same person. Education is a game changer. We rolled that free SHS. Indeed, at the time that we were campaigning, 2016, whilst we were championing the cause of ensuring that Ghanaians enjoy free SHS, the NDC were running several campaigns just to ridicule free SHS. The grace of God fell on our side. Ghanaians were able to buy into our story. They voted for us. For the first time in the history of Ghana, Nana Akufo-Addo is the only president who has been able to roll out a policy which has touched every home in Ghana. Just recently, when the results came, you would agree with me. The gentleman whose video has gone viral, who had 8 A's, but for free SHS, what would have been the fate of this child? In fact, in the video, the mother clearly stated that he couldn't afford the child's education. In fact, the child had to commute 6 kilometers daily just to access education. And Mr. P, my uncle P, Uncle Piali was talking about double track. Uncle, please, I want to believe that we cannot stay and sit here that every classroom should be built before we give our children access to education. Because when you talk about facility management, every facility has to be able to be used successfully in terms of how you manage a facility. Look at this. Do you know that most often when schools are on vacation, churches go and rent those schools just to do their conversions? Today, but for double track, students are rather being given opportunity to go and study. It is the same double track today that has produced the results that we are having today. And if you would just bear with me with the figures here, please, you can take this document so that it wouldn't be that I'm only speaking without any other person doing fact check. Now, these are the data that the West African Examination Council produced for us in terms of the student population. If I should refer to you, in 2016, the student population, I want to talk relative to how free SHS has given the girl child opportunity access to tertiary secondary school. In fact, in 2016, in terms of the male population, it was 147,597. Same in 2016, female population 141,610. If you should track the difference, the male exceeds the female by 5,987.
That's 2016.
That's 2016, yes. Now let's proceed forward. In 2017, the male population 147,597. The female population 141,610. If you should strike the difference here, now, same, the male exceeds the female by 5,987. Now, let's go to 2018. 2018, 158,551. That is with the male population. The female population, 158,448. Now, look, the difference is coming here. And clearly, the female population exceeds the male population by 103. That is in 2018. So she tell you that with the free SHF, it has given the girl child enough opportunity, access to education. Now come forward.
Actually, in 2018, you are calculating wrong. The male population still exceeded the female.
Yes, the male. Yes. Thanks for the question. The male exceeds the female by, but the emphasis to be made that the gap was being closed.
Okay.
To the extent that the difference is 103 in terms of the male exceeding the female. Now, in 2019, the male population 170,867. Female population 175,231. This is the game changer. The difference is 4,364 in excess of female population as compared to the male population. So you see what free SHS has done to the girl child education. It has given the girl child opportunity to access education. Now, we do not want to limit our discourse only to education. As we came in, as I told you earlier on, if you would want to formalize this economy, it shouldn't be mere rhetoric. It should be seen to be done and manifestly be seen to be done. When we were leaving office, we intended to introduce what we call now the Ghana card. NDC had 8 good years in office. They couldn't even issue a single Ghana card.
No, that's not wrong.
Please, did you, or have you received, or were you given your Ghana card?
Yes.
Well, you may say so, but did it have national representation? That is the obvious question, which is true, which is false. It did not have the national representation, as we are seeing now. Today, when we went to the registration, the data presented by the Electoral Commission, over 60% of Ghanaians came to register and use Ghana card as a means of identification. If you want to formalize the economy, I think this is a bold step. We talk about mobile money interoperability. Did you know that when the NDC was in power, they intended to roll out the mobile money interoperability at a cost of $1.2 billion? When we came, same program, nothing has changed. We wrote same program at a cost of $4.5 million. Do your calculation and look at how much money would have been thrown out there.
Who gives you this information?
As I'm talking to you, when the NDC was in power, when we want to talk about the monetary policy rate, at the time when the NDC was in power, the monetary policy rate was 25.5%. And you agree with me that the monetary policy rate is the rate at which the commercial banks more or less are charged in terms of interest from the Bank of Ghana. And it has a consequential effect on our interest rate. As I'm speaking to you, for 3 consecutive times, the monetary policy rate has remained 14.5%. These are the gains that the NPP has made. My brother, I think that we have the greatest opportunity as a country, that we are going into an election where we have both 2 political parties, their leaders, haven't had the opportunity to rule Ghana before. So unlike before that, you would only be persuaded by another man's promises that if you give me the opportunity, I'm going to do A and B on or for on